Hello! Welcome once more to Northworthy Sagas and Stories. I am Tyrkir, your host. Please continue watching. Please feel free to leave a comment. We're always very interested in them. And don't forget to subscribe. And follow us on Twitter and read it. Now then. There's a custom in the land of Sweden, and this is a custom that takes place on Christmas Eve, and it's one involving unmarried girls. It's said that if a young lady wishes to see a vision of the man that she's destined to marry, then she must stay up all night on Christmas Eve, and she may catch a glimpse of her future husband. And indeed, there was a girl who did exactly this. She sat up all night, and as was the custom, she did so alone, with 2 glasses in front of her. And one glass held plain and simple water, whereas the other contained, well, a choice alcoholic beverage, some fine imported wine. And, well, the rest of the household, they retired to bed. However, the following morning, the girl was found to be very disgruntled, not happy at all. And the people in the house, well, they'd heard some strange noises going on, and they said, "What was all that commotion last night? We heard you shout, and also there was a crash, as if someone had thrown something. What was all that about?" "Well, since you asked," said the girl, "it was really very annoying. There I was, keeping the Christmas Eve vigil, doing everything you're supposed to, and then the master of the house came, and he sat at the table, and he took the glass with the wine and drank it all down. And this was so irritating, I just couldn't help scolding him there and then. In fact, I picked up a stool and threw it right at him. However, the master of the house insisted he'd done nothing of the kind. But his wife said, "I can see how things are going to be before next year." And she was right, because in only a few months' time she'd fallen ill and died. And not long after that, well, the master of the house, oh, he married the girl. They had a hand fasting, a proper wedding, and for a whole month afterwards they drank mead to symbolise the sweetness of their marriage, brewed with honey, for a whole moon. Indeed, it's where the word honeymoon comes from. And so, you can see that in fact things worked out quite well for the second wife, although perhaps not quite so well for the first. And there are some people who will tell you that if someone uses divination of this kind and tries to catch a glimpse of their future, that any marriage that's based upon it will never know peace or affection. And just to prove the point, Well, there was another Swedish lass who kept a vigil of her own. And she lived in a very quiet village full of either married or very old men. There were no eligible bachelors for miles around, and she dreamt of the perfect man to enter her life who might one day be hers. And so come Christmas Eve, she sat there with the glasses in front of her, the water and the wine, and since it was a long evening, just to keep hunger at bay, she had a loaf of bread and some butter. From time to time, she'd eat some of that, and bided her time, waited patiently. And before too long, the door opened, and a stranger entered. And the girl felt a thrill of excitement, because when she looked upon him, she thought he was the most handsome man she'd ever seen. He walked over to the table, picked up the wine, drained it dry, and then he saw the bread and the butter. And so he took a handsax, a hand knife from his belt, and he used it to cut a piece of bread and to spread the butter upon it, and then ate it. And having done so, he left, although he forgot his knife, which still lay on the table. Now, in due course, about a year or two later, the stranger arrived in the village, and it didn't take long for the girl to catch his eye. And they had a brisk romance, followed by taking their marital vows. Time went on, and they were happy enough. And so, the wife, well, she grew heavy with child. And finally, when it was born, they had a baby son. And the time came, as the baby lay in the cradle, for the old custom to be followed of laying steel next to the baby as a ward, a protection against elf magic. And so, the girl, who was now a woman, she took the knife that had been left on the table a year or two before, and she placed that inside the cradle. But once her husband saw the knife and said, "Where did you get that? That's my knife. It's been a long time since I've seen it." And his wife had no choice but to tell him the truth. And when she did tell him how she'd kept the Christmas Eve vigil, how he'd left his knife behind, his face darkened, and he said, "So, it was you who forced my spirit to leave my body, to travel all this way from my home district to be here with you. That caused me terrible agony. And so now, I think it's only fair that I share that pain with you." He took the knife and he stabbed his wife to death. And so, let this be a warning to any young lady who might be considering keeping vigil on Christmas Eve. Until then, may I wish you a good Yule. Please don't forget to click on the notification bell. Thank you.